we got decorations now. We got set design. What? Moving up. That's right, we got an OG Charles Xavier toy. Action figure from the 90s, I think. I should probably have done more research on that. And yeah, if we get 10 more subscribers, I'm not a greedy man. I'm not a greedy man at all. You know, I think practicality. If we get 10 more subscribers, I'm going to do an unboxing of that toy for y'all to enjoy. 10 subscribers, or if somehow this gets like, I don't know, 100 likes or something like that, that's probably reaching big. But yeah, 10 subscribers. Tell your friends you want to see that Papa Chuck out the case, letting it breathe. Letting that action figure breathe. Anyway, on to the X-Men. What's going on? It's your boy back at you again with another issue of Tommy Reads X-Men. Today, we're looking at X-Men number 19 from April 1966, written once again by Stan the Man Lee, with art by Jay Gavin. This one is called Lo, and it had an exclamation point. Lo, now shall appear the Mimic. And we get the first appearance of, you can guess from the title, the Mimic. We start out like we do most times, at the X-Mansion with them training. Now, the X-Men are going through their paces, they're getting good, you know, they're doing a good run, and Hank's being a jerk right off the bat, but he decides that he wants to do his training one-handed, standing on one hand, you know, literally like showing off, showing out, and they're like, you know, all right, Hank, what are you doing? And then Charles calls quits to the whole thing. He's like, that's enough, I've seen enough, you guys are doing too much right now, you're really feeling yourselves. And you know what? You guys had it rough. You know, Papa Chuck loves as much as he hates. And he's like, you guys need a vacation. Now, vacation to Charles Xavier means 1 day off. You ain't booking no trip to Disneyland in 2020. There ain't no Disneyland right now, but, you know, hopefully we'll get it back. But you guys earned the day off, so go read a book, go do whatever. And Cyclops is like, you know, they've earned it. Because he's serious Cyclops now again. You know, he's that dude in the morning meeting who's not the supervisor, mind you. He's not the supervisor, but he's always echoing what the supervisor says. Like, the guy's like, we need to up hustle today, guys. We need to really push these products. He's like, yep, we do, guys. Come on, guys. And nobody likes that dude. Nobody likes that dude. When you're the manager, you don't like that dude. Believe me, I know. Anyway, so Hank and Bobby decide with their time off, they're going to go on a double date. Now, Bobby's date is the girl he met at the coffee shop on their last day off. And she hasn't been in the story since then. But he's like, oh yeah, remember her? And then everybody's supposed to be like, oh yeah, I remember a couple issues ago. Hank is going on a blind date. And he and Bobby go to a library to meet the dates. Now, right away, Hank starts being a jerk to the librarian, talking down to her about the books that are on the shelves and stuff like that, as if she's the purchaser for that. But no. So he's being real to her, and in a romantic comedy plot twist, that's his blind date. His date, Vera, is friends with the lady from the cafe. So they're all going out there about town, walking around and whatnot, and then they run into a dude who has a crush on Vera and doesn't like that she's with Hank. And his name is Calvin Rankin, a.k.a. the Mimic. This is where we first meet the Mimic. And he decides he's going to do something about this, even though Vera's not interested in him. She makes it plainly clear that she just helped him get a book one time and he became a weirdo stalker. And who hasn't had that experience? Anyway, so all of a sudden he starts getting Hank's powers. And he really easily just, boom, KOs Hank. Now, I'm always a fan of Hank getting knocked out, but you would think with all his X-Men training, he would be able to last 5 seconds over a guy who's just some average dude in the street. Yeah, granted, he has mimicking powers, but it seems like Hank's getting hands put on him a lot. Like, every issue he's getting knocked out. If somebody's getting knocked out, it's usually Hank or Angel. Like, Angel goes storming in, but Hank's usually like the second or third one in, and usually he's the first one who's knocked out. But some construction workers are there on the scene for some reason, constructing, and they see that this guy is beating up these two kids, and then they see him use powers, because all of a sudden he has ice powers that he's, you know, he puts up a little ice shield or whatever when the construction workers start coming at him, and they start, you know, saying really crappy anti-mutant things. But here's the jacked up part. It's jacked up that they were saying the anti-mutant stuff, don't get me wrong. But Bobby lets it happen. Now, Hank's laid out. He's out for the count for a little bit. He's dazed, and, you know, probably Vera's like, well, this guy couldn't defend me for nothing. Anyway, so Bobby's like, oh, that's how the professor says they're going to treat us if they knew our secret identities. But I better let bad stuff happen to this guy. And so he lets it happen, which is weird. Like, you think, like, he'd be like, they're being real crappy to mutants, so let me step in here. But no, he's like, oh, well, whatever, it ain't me. Which is part of the problem. So, through happenstance, then the Mimic, mind you, he needs to be close to the mutants for them to be able to use their powers and stuff. So, like 20 minutes later, he's walking down the street and the ice starts to melt and, you know, his feet start going back to normal. Which has got to be a pain in the ass. I mean, you'd think it would rip through his shoes or whatever, but he didn't, and they didn't explain it, so they just yada-yada over that fact. His shoes suddenly fit Beast's feet and his feet, but whatever. So he runs into Jean. He literally runs into Jean, who's on a shopping spree with her day off, so she's got all kinds of packages, and, like, she's, like, super pumped and stuff like that, and for some reason, and she's like, you know what? I better get me something to eat when she literally bumps into Calvin. And a side note, why is it when you go shopping and you actually have money, you don't get hungry, but when you get down to like the last couple dollars or whatever, you're like, you know, I could use a Wetzel's pretzel or an Orange Julius. Do they even have those anymore? Orange Julius's? I don't know. I went to the mall for the first time in like since the pandemic the other day, and all I did was get Panda Express, which was delicious. Anyway, so enough about my personal life in this issue. So he bumps into her, and for some reason, probably because he's horrible and chauvinistic, he threatens to pop her right in the face. He's like, oh, I swear. That was a little Yosemite sounding. But anyway, he's like, oh, I'm going to go with it. Oh, I swear I'm going to punch you right in the... And then she's like, oh, well, whatever, dude. And then he is getting a coffee or something like that, and he realizes he has telekinesis, and he's like, oh, well, I just ran into Beast and Iceman because it was easy to ID them from their powers. So this, obviously, this redhead here, Marble Girl's a redhead. That's her! You know what? I should follow her. I should follow her and find out her powers. And that's what he does. He heads to the X-Mansion. He follows Jean, who, despite being psychic or whatever, does not pick up that he is tailing her. And they get there, and you know what? Let me just show you. Take it away. Alright, just want to take a second here to focus in on Papa Chuck's questionable plan. He gets the info from the X-Men. They're telling him, you know, this guy's been giving us quite a bit of problems. And his big plan, after Mimic Calvin, he shows up at the front door, is just to let him in. Let him in. And let him start to meet all the X-Men, absorb their powers, and basically make him the ultimate X-Men, like kind of like Super Skrull, you know what I'm saying? But then he lets him, for some reason, go upstairs and change into some weird-ass costume that he made himself. You see here, he's got Angel's wings now all of a sudden. He's got Cyclops' glasses for some reason. And he changed into this weird costume that, you know, the color scheme's not my flavor, but, you know, whatever, to each their own. And then he straight up lets them battle the X-Men. Like, oh, go ahead and bust up our house. And the X-Men start to work as a team, which is good. And they finally defeat the Mimic, or so they think. Here they are talking him up. And the X-Men got super pumped about this. Like, they were more pumped up than if they were fighting Magneto or whatever. Maybe because it was on their home court. But Jean, for some reason, standing too close, gets kidnapped. And then gets taken off. They let him get in his Trans Am. Let him get in his car and drive off with Jean. And then they follow in a very inconspicuous and swastika kind of looking helicopter with a giant X on it. Now, where that came from, I don't know. Where Papa Chuck's getting the money for this? I mean, maybe he and Magneto took out loans with the bank. But yeah, so let's get back to the review. Yo, what kind of plan was that? What kind of plan was Papa Chuck thinking? He's like, oh, come up in the house. You know, I'm going to let you change your outfit like you're Mr. Rogers. No, it's all good. We're having supper. You like roast? You like roast? Because we got an extra helping. And, yeah, no, that's what I was saying. And then he's like, lets him change clothes into a horrible outfit. And then, which he kind of like, I wouldn't have designed that. And then the X-Men get him for a round. But he ends up kidnapping Jean. Why are you standing so close to this dude? Like, oh, you know, well, obviously he's down for the... Hey, he's got me. He's got me, guys. No, don't let him take me. Don't let him load me into this van. Don't let him, you know, buckle up for safety. Don't let him start the car. Why aren't you guys trying to stop him? Looks like you guys run into this big chopper. When did we get that? Anyway, so he takes her to his lair. And at first I was like, why does he even have a lair? You know, he's not this arch villain. But then he sits her down and he's like, you know, we got some time. I want the X-Men to come here because then I'm going to get their powers. And let me start talking to you about my life. Okay, let me start telling you about what's going on with me. And then we get the Mimic's backstory. So he was just a regular kid. He is not a mutant. That's why Cerebro did not go off. As the X-Men questioned that at first, and then Papa Chuck just kind of blew him out. Now, mind you, Charles has been pretty nonchalant this whole issue. As I showed you earlier, he let this dude come up in the house and everything. Now, why didn't he mind wipe him then? Why didn't he like, zzz, you know, and hit him with the Jedi mind, whatever? Why didn't he do that then? No, he was like, you know what? I want to see where this goes. This has been a pretty boring Wednesday. And I gave him a day off, but I knew they'd get into trouble. Because the last day off was a show, and this has been no different. I was literally like 45 minutes that I let him go, and then they got into this. But, so he starts telling his backstory. The Mimic does, not Charles. We already know his backstory, or we're going to get more of it pretty much down the road. Anyway, the Mimic, Calvin, he starts telling Jean about this kid who was just an average kid, and his dad was a scientist. And then one day when the dad was gone, he started messing around with some beakers and some woozits and whatsits, and then there was an explosion, and all of a sudden he got these powers where, you know, the best boxer in the school, which was, I guess, a thing, he could suddenly be just as good as him. The kid taking the test, who was the smartest kid, he could be as good as him. Now, forget, you know, putting in effort and trying to learn the sweet science and actually hitting the books. This was much easier, you know, and he excelled in all that, but his dad thought, you know, these powers are dangerous, you know, and I don't know what the heck it's doing to you. You know what I mean? Like, your genetic makeup is probably all 6s and 7s or, you know, craziness. Anyway, so he tells him, I built this lair for you, because all dads want to build a secret evil lair for their kids who suddenly got powers. Forget trying to make him a superhero. You know, you just assume he's going to go bad. But he builds him this lair, and then he builds a machine that he tells him, you know, it's going to make your mimicking powers more permanent. Or so he thought. So the Mimic tells Jean all this. And then Jean says, so that boy, it was you, wasn't it? Like, who the hell do you think I've been talking about for this 25 minutes we've been here? Like, why would I tell you about a story about some random person and be like, oh yeah, that's my cousin Larry. Anyway, it's in the family, so I got it too. No, of course it was about him. Damn, Jean, you took the same honors classes as Hank and that's how you gonna do? So that was frustrating and hilarious. But the X-Men show up, they rescue Jean, and then the Mimic in his desperation, he's got their powers again, but in his desperation tries to kidnap Papa Chuck and take him into the machine with him. So he'll get, like, I guess, Charles's powers or whatever. So he grabs him, and they're like, Professor, and then Papa Chuck's basically like, nah, this is slight work. I got this. I got this. And then you see zzz, and they get zapped. Now, Charles just kind of brushes it off, you know, like he does haters and criticism and thank yous. But he brushes it all off, and then he tells him, like, he read his mind. He tells the X-Men, like, while the Mimic's out, he's done for. He is, like, knocked out like Hank was earlier on the street. I don't think it's going to be a second date for Hank and Vera, but, you know, I could be wrong. Anyway, he tells him, oh, yeah, so I read his mind, and it turns out that his dad had built that machine to get rid of his powers. Not, you know, make him keep them, get rid of them so he could lead his normal life. Now, how he got that from Mimic's mind when the Mimic didn't know that? I don't know. I do not know. But he tells him, well, his powers are done. And then he mind wipes him. So he takes him out, he mind wipes him. I guess Mimic's gonna live his normal ass life. And that is the end of the issue. So, final thoughts. This is about an 8 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this had action. You had the Beast getting knocked out, which is always a good thing. It's well documented in these Tommy Reed X-Men that I'm not a Beast fan. And also, this is what I like to call a Papa Chuck tough love issue. When that sounded weird. Anyway, it was like he's giving that tough love because, like, there was one not too long ago where he acted like he was dead to see how the X-Men were going to react in the event of his actual, for real's death. But he decides, like, to let this dude in the house. They razz him a bit. He lets Jean get kidnapped. God knows what the Mimic was going to do to her. You know, by the time they got there, he could have chopped her up in little bits to try to get her power. He don't know, but he was willing to do that just to see how the X-Men work as a team and deal with the situation, because he's horrible to these kids, and no father figure should be doing this, but Papa Chuck's doing this. This is his tough love. This is his, you know, you go and decide how to deal with it in combat kind of thing, and it is awful. He never looked worried because maybe he didn't see Mimic as that much of a threat. Like, he ain't Magneto or whatever. He's just a dude who could copy you. But, yeah. So but it had good action. I enjoyed it. It was a fun, fast read. 8 out of 10. Check it out. This has been another issue of Tommy Reed's X-Men. Again, this was X-Men number 19. Be back with us next for the big 20th issue. 10 more subscribers. We will be unboxing this, starting a new series of toys. Hopefully. We'll see if I can afford it, which I probably can't. But yeah, we'll be unboxing this one for sure. 10 more subscribers. I'm not a greedy man. Just 10 more. Tell 9 of your friends. And then you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That's math. Thank you for checking this out. We'll be back again next week. Peace. Peace. Who says that? Yeah, I forgot the part where I asked for actual likes. If we get more likes and subscriptions, then I can do the unboxing. So if you like what you're seeing, subscribe down here and, you know, hit that like button. Share with your friends so we can get more subscribers and do different videos like that. Can't believe I forgot that part. Anyway, thank you for checking out the video. Hope you like it.